Hello everyone, it's Lisa Turner here from Psycademy, and today I want to ask you a question and I want to share some thoughts with you that are from well, it's not a brand new concept, but it's a relatively new concept that isn't out there much, and it's the idea of spiritual pain. So the question I have for you is, are you in spiritual pain? And the other question is, are you a spiritual leader? Now, you might think, what have those questions got to do with each other? And no, I'm not a spiritual leader, because who am I to lead anyone? So before you answer the question, I'm going to be looking at my, this is coming from my new book, which will be out soon. If it's not out already when you watch this, I don't know. So it is the idea of spiritual leadership. So when I ask people, spiritual people, when I talk to spiritual people about the idea of being a spiritual leader, they often shy away from it. So I'm going to explain why you might actually be a spiritual leader and why it's probably a great idea if more spiritual people were leaders. So let's have a little explore of that. So I'm going to ask you a question. Are you a spiritual leader, or would you like to be? Now, before you answer that question, let me start with another question, which is, are you in spiritual pain? So what's spiritual pain? It's not emotional pain. So we know what physical pain is. That's when we've got a physical, something we've hit our thumb, ouch. Emotional pain, anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt. Spiritual pain is less tangible, and it's it's excruciating. So spiritual pain, it's the pain you feel when you look out at the world, you see all this suffering and all this tragedy, and you feel as if it's your own, and you yearn for things to be different, but you feel powerless to change that. You feel powerless to heal it. And you might start as a healer and do some little healings one-to-one, but you're barely scratching the surface. Spiritual pain is the pain you feel when you're disconnected from source, when you're disconnected from the source of all your power. Spiritual pain is the yearning you feel to make the world or your life or the lives of others better. It's the misery you feel when you're not living your life's purpose. So if you want a better world, but you feel powerless to know how to create that, so what happens is, if that's true for you, what you might find is that you start to retreat from the world, and you start to avoid certain situations. You start to, oh, my screen's gone mad. You start to find your screen goes mad. No, that's not it. So you start to, rather than getting out there and making the difference, you withdraw from a world that just doesn't seem to work. It's like the world is full of pain and suffering. It's insane. We've got madness in politics right now. So you think there's nothing I can do to change that. So you're going to withdraw. But this is completely at odds with the whole concept of becoming one with everything. And that's why you feel this pain. It's like you try and withdraw, but that doesn't work. It's like either you've got to go out into the world because you've got to make a living, you have to engage with it, but it doesn't work. The world doesn't work, and you don't know how to change it. And so you end up in this loop. The world doesn't work. I want to change it. I can't change it. So, and so you try and withdraw from it. And that's totally at odds with this other concept of spirituality, which is the idea of becoming one with everything. So the whole idea of spirituality is to become one with everything, not withdraw from a world that doesn't work, but you can't reconcile that confusion, and that agony you feel is spiritual pain. So what's the answer? Let's explore this a little bit further. But before we do this, I want you to be, let's be clear. Let's be really honest about who you really are. You might be thinking, I'm not a spiritual leader. I don't want to become one. But here's why I think you might be mistaken. Because many people mistakenly believe that a spiritual leader, or any kind of leader, it's somebody on the stage and they're talking to thousands of people. They're the Tony Robbins, the Marianne Williamsons, or they're some kind of guru. And that's not the case. A spiritual leader is simply this. It's somebody who inspires and inspires others, changes and grows and creates the spark for that. So I think of it as like there's two kinds of people. They're either those who are controlled by external circumstances, or they're controlled from within by their own inner connection to source and their drive to make life better. Now, if you're controlled by external circumstances, that's when you give up your power, when you try and withdraw from the world. But being a spiritual leader is that spark, that flame that can ignite a whole movement. And that might be you just changing your own life. So there's a cat in this room and there are wires. And these two are fundamentally either totally compatible because the cat loves the wires and is pouncing on them, or totally incompatible because the cat loves the wires and is pouncing on them. It's fine normally, but when I'm trying to do a Facebook Live, so if you see me suddenly flinch, it's probably because a cat's trying to crawl up my leg. So you may not know you're a spiritual leader, but you yearn for a greater understanding of yourself, for the purpose of the human race. And you may be asking, what's the point? Or thinking there must be more to life than this. That's a sign you're actually a spiritual leader. Now, you may know you're a spiritual leader and you may have started to awaken to a higher level. You may be already trying and striving towards creating a better life for yourself, for your community, for your family. And that's a sign you're a spiritual leader. Now, you may want to lead others and you may just want to lead yourself to a happier, healthier life. If you want to get more control of your life, then you are a spiritual leader. If you believe the world will be a better place with more enlightenment, more consciousness, then you are a spiritual leader. Because here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. Now, even if you're thinking, who am I to do this? I don't have the skills, I don't have the knowledge, I don't have the power, I don't have the confidence, I don't have the inner strength. That may be the case, but you are a spiritual leader if you are seeking a better world and a better life. Because here's why the world needs spiritual leaders right now. So let's look at those two words. Let's look at the word spiritual and let's look at the word leader. So spiritual refers to, I think of it as somebody who's got a higher level of consciousness. They're more awake, they're more aware. And with that greater awareness, they've got more connection, more awareness of the divine, of source within you. You experience the divine within yourself, within the world, within others, and you seek to experience it and witness it in all. You're all, you know that we're all one. Everything's connected. You perceive unity. You even experience it on the odd fleeting occasion. So a spiritual person is someone who's awakened and they're working for the highest good of all. People love you. Now, this spiritual person, they work for the highest good of all, but not always that all often doesn't include themselves. So they often sacrifice themselves for the all. And that doesn't work because here's why. If you sacrifice everything to save the planet, to save everyone else, you are left with nothing. And then you require somebody to save you, to bail you out, to support you financially. If you give everything away, and I have lots of spiritual people tell me very proudly, I have nothing. I live on benefits because I've given it all away. And it's like, so now I effectively with my taxes have to support you. And, that's okay while people that's okay. Benefits are great to help people get back on their feet. But if that's a way of living, then as an ongoing way of being, you've given away too much. So that all now needs to support you because you can't actually, if you've given everything away, you can no longer make any real difference. Now, here's the thing. People might love you. They might trust themselves around you. But because you've given away everything, including your power, your voice becomes lost in the wind, lost in the noise of all the other power that's around you. Everybody loves you, but nobody really listens. Now, what happens is then spiritual people find it very hard to function in the world. So they retreat from it, they quit the job, they try and live a simpler life, they don't venture out. And then when they do, they find the world is full of lots of pain. And so they go back and run away again. And this is a tragic loss for the world, because we'll see. Oh, I'm glad you like this. Thank you. Right. Now, a leader, so we had spiritual, someone awakened, but often retreats from the world, gives everything away. So they sacrifice themselves for others. So with this balance of giving everything away. Hi, Monica. Good afternoon to you. At the time of recording, we're in the afternoon. So and if this resonates with you, let me know. If you can see where I'm coming from, if this makes sense, let me know. So now let's look at leader. So a leader is someone who has or is in a position of authority. This might be actual overt authority. So there might be, a judge, politician, some kind of, CEO of a large organization. They are, they're in a position of power, or they just seem to command power. Perceived or actual. Others listen, they take action, they're influential. This person speaks and people act on their words. They make things happen. They create change in the world. They create change that impacts other people, other people's lives, and often people quite respect them and trust them. But if we have a leader who is a leader but not spiritual, here's what we get. So spiritual works for the highest good of all, but often not themselves. A leader will work for the highest good of themselves and not necessarily the all, especially if that leader is specifically not spiritual. They're more likely to work for the highest bidder than the highest good, right? They're serving their own ends or the ends of the people who pay the most. This is the leader who's not connected to the divine. They don't care about the divine. They just want their own way. Then, so what happens if we imagine this, right? So hi, Ness. Hiya. Welcome. So if we have leaders that are by definition leaders but not spiritual, what have we got? We've got a world where all the leaders are working for the highest good of themselves but not all. So here's what, and what would that look like? Well, it might look like a little bit what we have, right? We've got a lot of leaders, a lot of people in power who are, I'm sure that this is not all leaders and not all leaders in power. We do definitely have some really awakened people in positions of power or working towards getting more power who are definitely connected, but we also have a lot who are not. And that's why I think we have a lot of the challenges in the world right now that we do have. So let's look at it like this. So if we have spiritual people saying, well, I'm spiritual, I'm awakened, I'm connected to the divine, the world is horrible, I'm going to retreat from the world, I'm going to leave the world, I'm going to give away all my money, I'm going to reject money, reject wealth, reject power, I'm going to live in my cupboard, but I'm safe and I'm connected to the divine. They're not connected to anyone else necessarily. Then what have you got? Then you have all the leaders who are in power who are by definition not spiritual. So you have all the leaders not working for the highest good of all. But here's my invitation to you. What if we start to combine the two? What if we start to say, I am going to stay connected to the divine. I am going to stay in that awakened state. I am going to start working towards alleviating my own personal spiritual pain and the spiritual pain of the whole planet, because I am going to stay in the world and I'm going to make a difference. Now, this, because what a lot of people do is they think, well, what we need to do is we just need to make the leaders of the world, that's a cat jumping on my table, sorry about that. We need to make the leaders of the world more spiritual. Well, look, we all know what it's like. Like, you cannot tell someone who's unawakened and not interested in awakened to awaken. Spiritual leaders, just go and awaken spiritually. That's the solution. That doesn't work. Instead, what we need to do, I'm loving how much people are liking this. And also share this if you think this is an important message, right? So, it's not going to work for us to sit around in our spiritually in our spiritual cupboard saying the leaders of the world, they need to awaken. That's what needs to happen. They just need to wake up. You cannot cause somebody to wake up who just doesn't fundamentally want to wake up. So instead, here's my invitation. Why don't you, as a spiritually awakened person, start creating influence in your world? Why don't you, as a spiritual person, start to answer the call of the planet that is crying out for your leadership right now? Starting out by working for the highest good of all, starting where you are with what you've got. Now, this is for people who want to learn how to lead. If you want to learn how to lead and how to be an abundant spiritual leader, because money and power, like it or not, they are kind of connected. What if spiritual people allowed themselves access to their innate spiritual and inner power? What if we imagined a world where those in power were also spiritual? What if the world was full of leaders who were spiritual leaders who are both powerful and spiritual, people who generate love and trust and respect? Maybe it's time for you to step into your spiritual leadership. So here's my invitation. If this is you, but you don't know where to start, you feel powerless, you're in spiritual pain and you'd like to alleviate that, here's my invitation. Join me on our upcoming event. I'll pop a link in the comments below. And it's all about how you can become an abundant spiritual leader. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to activate your spiritual leadership power centers. More of that in a future Facebook Live. We're going to remove the blocks and obstacles to you stepping into your power, the fear, the anger, the hurt, the loss, the disappointment. We're going to release that using a process called higher self therapy, which actually releases all that emotional pain and starts to release that spiritual pain so that you can live your life's purpose. What we're also going to do, so we'll take you through higher self therapy. We're also going to take you through on this, it's a 3-day live event. We're also going to take you through a process where we bring your higher self above your head, position it above your head, call it, and then we're going to bring it into your physical body so that you have access to the full spiritual power of your higher self. We're also, I'm looking over here because I have to remind myself of all the amazing things because I forget how amazing it is, this event. We're also going to give you lunch. Yay! Who doesn't love lunch? So higher self-therapy, higher self-connection, lunch, activating your spiritual leadership, power centers, and you're also going to get to witness a live channeling where I will invoke my guides, no one guide, and you can ask them any questions you like. So if you have any questions about that, if you believe, so here's my question for you. Do you believe that the world will be a better place if more leaders were spiritual? And do you feel the calling to release your spiritual pain, to step into your spiritual powers? So whether you know you've got power, but you'd like to be more spiritually connected, even more spiritually connected. If you know you're spiritually connected, but you'd like to ground that, clearing your money blocks so that you can start to step into it, figuring out how you can start to create that healing business so that you can reach more people and in a way that serves you. Remember what I said, spiritual people who work for the highest good of all, but not themselves, give everything away, end up not being able to make any difference in the world. If you want to make a difference, it's about abundance, it's about spirituality, it's about leadership. Bizarrely, that is what is on our 3-day event, Abundant Spiritual Leader. So if you want to do this, I will pop the link below. If you believe that this is something that's powerful, that's important, type in the comments box. And what I'm going to do, with permission, and you need to give us permission, with permission, my guides, no one guide, will, and so if you believe in that you want to become a spiritual leader, you want to come to the event, maybe you don't know how yet, pop yes in the comments box. Yes, I believe the world would be better if, I don't know, just yes, I believe, or yes to spiritual leadership, or I'm a spiritual leader, but I don't know what to do, whatever. Post something in the comments box. If you say yes to my guide's support, it needs to be quite explicit so I know that you're saying yes to that. Then my guides will offer you support to help you and support you energetically to attend our live event. Maybe you need help with the logistics, figuring it out, whatever. I will pop the link below so you can have a look. If you have any questions, let me know. Also, just if you believe this is an important message, just say, yes, this is important. And you know what? My guides will send you some energy because my guides, I believe the world is a better place if more leaders are spiritual. And the way to do that is to get, the easiest way is for spiritual people to step into their power, because we can't just say, leaders, go be more spiritual. That's not going to work. So I hope to see you at the event. I will see you at the event. Monica, I know you're coming. I hope to see you at our event. Kez, maybe you'll be there. Be awesome to see you there, Kez, my darling. So I will see you at the event or not. Whatever happens, go and be amazing. Go and lead in a spiritual way, in an abundant way, the highest good of all. Till then, lots of love. Bye for now.